Hey there, micro folks. This is Mr. Hooker, and today we are going to talk about pure competition, or as you may hear me call it, perfect competition. Years of calling it perfect competition do not go away easily, so that is it. This chapter will be broken down into two parts: short run and long run. The book finally changed it where they used to have it into two chapters. They finally combined it into one. But I'm still breaking it down into two videos. So, I mean, I'm glad it's one chapter, but it'll still be two videos. So, just a heads up on how that works. Um, so, let's get into the work. So, overall, this is module 3. We are going to do 4 market structures in module 3. There is pure competition, then there is pure monopoly, monopolistic competition, and my favorite, oligopoly. So, let's look at how this all goes. How do they compare? So, as far as the number of firms, pure competition, there are a very, very large number of firms. There are a ton of firms in that. So think, hundreds of thousands, high hundreds of thousands into millions. Okay. Um, Monopolistic competitions, there are many. Um, Once again, low hundreds of thousands. Um, there are a lot. Oligopoly, there are a few. This is again relative to uh, the numbers that you've seen previously. So there are thousands, tens of thousands. So in this case, tens of thousands will work down to two. So two is the smallest number of firms you can have in a market and still be an oligopoly, and that would be a duopoly. But you could still have like tens of thousands and be an oligopoly. Pure monopoly, there's only ever one number that works for that, and that is one firm. Type of product, it is a standardized product in perfect competition. Um, Everybody makes the exact same product. There's nothing you can do about that. Monopolistic competition, it is a differentiated product. Oligopoly, it is either standardized or differentiated. Um, Depends on which market you're looking at. Pure monopoly, it is unique. There are no close substitutes. So, it is what it is. There's nothing you can do to get close to that one. Control over price in perfect competition, there is none. You are what we call a price taker. Um, you are taking the market price, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in this chapter, and actually in this video. In monopolistic competition, there's some, but it's a rather narrow limit. Um, Other people are doing the same, kind of the same thing. Everybody's kind of trying to do their own thing, but everybody's also trying to please the consumer. And so there's really not a lot you can do with that. In oligopoly, it's limited by mutual interdependence. It is kind of considerable with collusion, which is illegal here in the US, but not everywhere. Um, so we'll talk about that when we get to chapter, I guess that's 13 now. And it is considerable with monopoly. Although they aren't going to charge the highest possible price because they still need consumers to buy it. So we'll talk about that in the next chapter. Conditions of entry, they're very easy in pure competition. There's no obstacles. It's basically like hardwood floor. If you think of it as flooring, um, it's basically like, like hardwood floor, you can basically shuffle your feet and get in. It's not a real big deal. Monopolistic competition, it's relatively easy. It's like that low level carpet you see. Um, you can still kind of shuffle and not trip up too much. There are significant obstacles in oligopoly. It's kind of like shag carpet. You're going to basically trip a little bit, but there's legal barriers to that, and they are considerable with pure monopoly. Um, so basically, walls exist. There's tables, walls, all that stuff stacked up against you. They do not have to be complete. They just have to be big enough that you can't get through. Um, Non-price competition, think of that as advertising. There is none in pure competition because if you advertise for yourself, you have advertised for everybody and just wasted your money. There's considerable emphasis on advertising and monopolistic competition. There are brand names, there are trademarks. Everybody wants to get their name out. We will talk about that. Typically, a great deal, particularly with product differentiation and oligopoly. So those two in the middle, you probably spend, I would say 97% of your money, 97, 98% of your money in monopolistically competitive or oligopolistic markets. And they advertise a ton to try to get you to do so. So in Monopoly, it is mostly public relations advertising. Hey, we're here. We're not evil people. Let's do business with us. Keep doing business with us and like us. That kind of thing. So some examples for pure competition: financial markets, agriculture. We'll use agriculture here. Raw materials for certain things. Restaurants, gyms, gas stations, retail trade, dresses, shoes for monopolistic competition. Oligopoly would be airlines, automobiles, wireless service, space travel now, which is amazing that we're saying space travel is oligopolistic, right? Especially for anybody of a certain age that can think of NASA being the only people, NASA and a few other countries. Everybody had their own countries thing doing space travel, but now you've got private enterprises doing space travel, which is amazing. Waste disposal, and pure monopoly, local utilities, and patented pharmaceuticals. So there's those. So the characteristics of pure competition: you have a very large number of sellers. They are all selling a standardized product. They are price takers. There's free entry and exit. Couple of other things to note: they will maximize profits at the point where price equals marginal cost. Okay, that is the other big thing to note. So they will maximize profit at the point where price equals marginal cost. All right, purely competitive demand. It is perfectly elastic demand for the firm. Not for the market, but for the firm. The market looks just like what you typically see on an economics textbook: downward sloping demand, upward sloping supply. And then where that is, the equilibrium, it becomes the price for the market. And we'll see that in just a second. The firm will produce as much or little as they want at the market price. And demand for the firm graphs as a horizontal line. So let's look at this. So the firm's demand schedule, and let's do that. They're not showing you the whole thing of how we got there, so let me show you that on the whiteboard. All right. So here's what happens. So if this is the market, all right, we have a downward sloping demand curve, upward sloping supply curve, and let's say that this is $3. And this is Q, this is P, this is P, this is Q. So we will come over here, and this will be $3. We'll make this one red. Okay. And just imagine that is a horizontal line. Then you've got demand equals marginal revenue equals average revenue equals price. Oops, that's supposed to be price. There we go. And so that firm at $3 has a horizontal demand curve and can basically sell everything they want to produce at $3. At $2.90, they will sell everything they want to produce, but they were making zero economic profit at $3. That's another one of the characteristics. You're going to make zero economic profit. Sorry, forgot that one. They're going to make zero economic profit at $3. So if you sell at $2.90, you are going to basically make negative economic profit or negative profit, and therefore you will now go out of business. At 310, everybody will buy at $3, and you will also go out of business. So you are basically stuck at $3. You are going to take the market price at $3, sell all you want at $3. This is how much you're going to sell is going to be decided by your marginal cost curve. So your marginal cost curve is going to decide that. That's going to hit that at some point. Let's make that one blue. And so wherever your marginal cost curve hits, that's where price equals marginal cost, and that will be the quantity that will maximize profit for you, and that will become Q star for you. All right. So that is all of that. Let's get back to our show here. All right. Oh, that wasn't what I wanted. All right, there we go. So the product price is $131. It's going to be $131 all the way. You see that with the green demand curve there on the bottom at 131. Quantity demanded 0 to 10. Total revenue basically is quantity times the price. So 131, 262, all the way up to 1310. And your marginal revenue is 131 all the way around. Average revenue, no matter what the market structure is equal to price. So, whether it's perfect competition, monopolistic competition, whatever, it's always equal to price. So just go ahead and stick with that one. So average revenue is revenue per unit. Total revenue divided by quantity. It is equal to price. Total revenue is price times quantity sold. And marginal revenue is the revenue from one more unit sold. Marginal revenue is the change in total revenue divided by the change in quantity. So those are your formulas for those. And I'm pointing this out one more time, but only for perfect competition. Demand equals marginal revenue equals average revenue equals price. You can remember that with Mr. DARP. MR equals MRDARP. So MR, demand, marginal revenue, demand, average revenue, price. So profit maximization, the total revenue minus total cost approach. Competitive producer will want to produce at that point, at that output level where total revenue exceeds total cost by the greatest amount. You should have two break-even points on that one. So if you go with that, total fixed cost 100, total variable cost 0 to 930, total cost 100 to 1030, total revenue 0 to 1310. Profit and loss, you're trying to find the one where it's the greatest, and that is at 299, which is at 9 units. And so notice you do have two break-even points, which are normal profit. And so your maximum economic profit is at 299. And so there you go. And notice the graph on the right is just basically that hump there, and where that is largest, where that is largest from zero or highest from zero is your largest economic profit. The easiest way is the marginal revenue equals marginal cost approach. For a price taker, price equals marginal revenue. And so the firm considers the three questions. Should they produce? If they're producing, how much do they produce? And what economic profit or loss would be realized? And so here we go. Average fixed cost, average variable cost, average total cost. Then you get to marginal cost and marginal revenue. And so here's the thing with that. Very seldom is marginal cost ever going to equal marginal revenue. always choose the place where they are closest and marginal revenue is greater. You want marginal revenue to be greater than marginal cost, because if marginal cost is greater than marginal revenue, you are losing money on each unit. If marginal revenue is greater than your marginal cost, you are making money on each unit, but they need to be the closest possible. So you see here at 9, 131, 130, that is the closest they get, because right above that it's 131, 110, and right below that it's 150, 131. And at that point, marginal cost is greater than marginal revenue, and you don't want marginal cost greater than marginal revenue. So get away from that. Run fast as you can. This is what we call the profit box. It is easy to do, kind of interesting in a sense. So basically, you have your horizontal demand curve, marginal revenue, price, all of that. You draw your marginal cost curve, where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. That is your profit maximizing point. You have your average total cost, average variable cost. So that point where marginal revenue equals marginal cost, profit maximizing point. Also price. Price is your revenue per unit. So that is your revenue per unit. Average total cost is your cost per unit. So you're going to go from revenue per unit, price, down to ATC, which is your cost per unit. And so that gap, revenue per unit to cost per unit, is actually profit per unit. And then you're going to multiply that times number of units, which means you have to go left for all the units you have. So you're going to draw this box, MR equal, where price equals marginal cost, down to ATC, left to the axis. And then your demand curve will form the other line, and that will create your economic profit box. So the way that is, price is revenue per unit, ATC is cost per unit. If you've ever worked production, you've heard them say cost per unit. Cost per unit is nothing but ATC. And so it's used in production a good bit. If you ever go to work in production, they'll use it a lot. And then you go left, and that gives you your economic profit. That is how that is done. Now, sometimes we're going to lose money. If marginal revenue, or in this case price, really want to talk about price, not marginal revenue, on that, is greater than minimum AVC, we want to produce. So losses are a minimum where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. So producing adds more to revenue than the cost. So as long as your price is greater than the minimum AVC, keep producing. If the minimum AVC goes above price, you need to shut down. That is a temporary thing. Exit is permanent, shutdown is temporary. But if that happens, you've got to just go. All right. So here you see at this point, marginal cost is 80. Marginal revenue, what's the marginal revenue? Marginal revenue is 81. We're going to lose $64. That's fine at that point. So it's going to look like this. Marginal cost equals marginal revenue at the 6 units. AVC is still below marginal revenue, or price. ATC is above price. So we're going to go marginal revenue equals marginal cost up to ATC. And once again, cut a hard left, go over, and instead of being a profit box, that is now a loss box. And that is how much we lose in total now. Thankfully, that's smaller than our former economic profit box. And note, once again, if you're making an economic profit, that entices other firms to come in. If you are making an economic loss, that entices firms to leave the industry. So that is how that works. Shutdown case, minimum AVC is now above price. This is a shutdown case. Now you are going to temporarily shut down, and people are going to, you're just going to shut down for a little bit until until conditions improve. All you are going to pay in shutdown are your fixed costs. Once you shut down, you will no longer pay your labor. You will no longer pay your resource costs or your material cost, anything like that. So you won't pay any of those, or your utilities. You won't pay any of those variable costs. So that is what you will save. You will only pay fixed costs during the shutdown period. So short run supply, as long as the price exceeds the minimum AVC, the firm continues to produce using the rule of price, marginal revenue or price equaling MC, and supply will graph as the upsloping line. So basically, in the short run, we use the marginal cost curve as a short run supply curve for the firm. Just understand, we haven't shown you a firm supply curve. That is because the marginal cost curve acts as a short run supply curve for the firm. All right. So if the price is different, differing prices, 151, 131, 111, 91, 81, 71, 61, and you have all these different pieces, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, maximum profit, 480, 299, 138, and then losses, what will they do? Well, here's the thing. AVC is at B, which means that is the bottom of what you can do. You can make profit at C and basically, break even at D. At B, you have to shut down. Anything below B, you have to shut down. So basically, C is kind of optimal. And at D, you're breaking even. So C, or wait a minute, E, C is not optimal. E, you'd make a profit. D, you're breaking even. C, you're taking a loss. And B, you're shutting, and, B, you're basically on a shutdown, or A, you're shutting down. So E is where you'd make your profit. D is a break even. And C is a loss. So, but an operating loss. So E is where you would want there. So, so there you go. There it is. Break even, normal profit is at D. Shutdown point is at B. So, should we produce? Produce if the price is greater than the minimum average variable cost. Means the firm's profitable if the losses are less than the fixed cost. What to produce? Produce where marginal revenue or price is equal to marginal cost. Profit is maximized. Will it result in economic profit? Yes, if price exceeds the average total cost. No, if average total cost exceeds price. Firm and market supply and market demand. So in this case, for a single firm, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 1,000 a firm for total quantity supplied, 10,000, 8,000, 9, 10,000, 9,000, 8,000, 7,000, 6,000. We're at a price there of 151, 131, 111, 91, 81. Total quantity demanded 4, 6, 8, 9, 11. Equilibrium is at 8,000 and a price of 111. And this is what that looks like at 111. Downward sloping demand, upward sloping supply, a horizontal demand curve, ATC below, falling below that. So they are making an economic profit. They are doing good at the moment. So the firm versus the industry, there is some fallacy of compositions there. Just because it's good for you and your buddies does not make it good for everybody. Atoms are not alive, but things made of atoms are. And so if everybody stands, no one can see. And if everybody sells, the price does fall. And that's basically what firms are looking at. They want, they want to be able to sell, but they don't want everybody else to sell. And it's one of those things, what you think is good for you and your buddies is going to be good for everybody. We're going to do long run in the next video. So I will see you in video 2 for perfect competition. Take care.